Okay, greetings, and thanks for joining us back out here today. Hope you enjoy the shirts, be the change, and make sense. Think about the things you do. I get this from Gandhi. It's kind of a play on Gandhi's be the change you wish to see in the world. And that's kind of what I stuck to. So the first thing I wish to bring up in this show, in this video, is some news. And that news is Facebook deleted my post. It was just a picture showing people on November 13th that the Bar Association had said that they were going to notify me before the court reconvened so that maybe we'd have a chance to get some people who were interested, because there were a fair amount of people out there interested. Needless to say, the Bar Association did not contact me. Wait just 1 minute. I've been up all night. As you can see, it's about 8 a.m. And I've been up because a good friend of mine called me and said he loves my videos. He's been loving them. He's been sharing them. That's awesome. But he's been getting a lot of feedback about people thinking that this is too militant. And that they don't know me, maybe it would send the wrong message. So I'm going to clear it up right now. The reason I've been acting the way that I act is because if we don't start getting law upheld soon, people are going to resort to that. People are going to resort to violence. It's already been in the news that people have been thinking about kidnapping the governor of Michigan and a few other public officials. This happens time and time and time again when governments intrude on people's rights, on people's natural rights. That was kind of the entire reason the Revolutionary War happened. And that whole thing with taxation without representation, they didn't start it because they got taxed more. In fact, the Tea Act actually relieved the taxes from the East India Trading Company. That's what got everybody so upset. And now most people get taxed anywhere between 25 to 60%, depending on where you live. Nobody back then would have put up with it. What they definitely wouldn't have put up with is the government allowing rapists to walk. But I have an idea about that. First, I got some news to report. And just in case it wasn't clear from the last statement, in no way do I advocate violence. In fact, I've done everything that I've done in the courts, working with people, studying since my son was born. My little man in training, as I like to call him. All so that I wouldn't have to ever pick up one of those things. I hope nobody else in this country does either. Anyways, getting back to it. Here's a news report from WLOS. Let's go ahead and check this out.
The Henderson County District Attorney avoids losing his law license during a disciplinary hearing before the state bar. Greg Newman is accused of failing to notify parents of an alleged child rape victim about court updates and making false statements about the case. News 13's Taylor Young joins us live from Hendersonville. Taylor, the bar was pushing for an active suspension.
Yeah, and ultimately the panel gave him a 3-year stayed suspension, meaning he can continue to practice law as long as he follows certain requirements.
The North Carolina State Bar accusing District Attorney Greg Newman of ethical violations during the handling of a rape case.
It decreases the public's confidence in the justice system.
In 2015, a grand jury indicted James Sapp, charging him with multiple felonies, including the rape of a child. The case was moved to district court, where Sapp was given a plea deal for a misdemeanor. The complaint against Newman claims the family said they wanted to be present during the hearing.
It was clear from the file that the family wanted to be notified, and it's equally clear at least certainly by clear, cogent, and convincing evidence that the family wasn't notified. It just was not credible to us to believe that Mr. Newman realistically thought the family had been contacted.
It also says Newman falsely informed the court that the victim had been notified of the plea and did not want to be heard. The disciplinary panel said those actions are against the Victims' Rights Act.
We just felt that, we couldn't give a lawyer practicing in North Carolina a pass simply by saying I was too busy to go back and look in my file and check thoroughly.
During the hearing, Newman asked the panel to consider the impact a suspension would have on his family, his staff, and pending cases. Friday afternoon, the panel made a unanimous decision to give Newman a 3-year stayed suspension.
We did debate long and hard whether an active suspension should be considered, and we came to the conclusion that under circumstances of this case that an active suspension would not be appropriate.
Now, Newman must meet a list of conditions during that suspension period time in order for him to continue practicing law. Now, we did reach out to him by phone earlier today and have not heard back. Reporting live in Hendersonville, Taylor Young, News 13.
New tonight, Asheville police are investigating.
Okay, the special stipulations that they were talking about isn't really anything special. They just said that Greg Newman had to follow the law. And most especially, that he had to follow the Victim Rights Act, a part of the law, because they knew that he violated his oath of office. They knew that he violated the Constitution. They knew that he committed perjury in an open court. They knew that he lied to them when they asked him about it.
Which also reminds me, I did need to add one thing. Under the standard conditions, we typically add in that, of course, the defendant is not to violate any laws of the state of North Carolina. And we would like to modify, if we can, to say including but not limited to the Victims' Rights Act, GS 15A-832, just as an acknowledgement that that's something that we want to make sure that going forward, Mr. Newman is very cognizant of. We would also order that the costs of this action be taxed to the defendant, including the deposition costs associated with the case.
And really what they were saying is that the law did not apply to him before he actually had to go to the State Bar Association and have a disciplinary hearing. That it doesn't apply. That you can be held liable, you can go to prison because you have 2 ounces of cocaine. You can go to prison for life. But this man who swore an oath to protect the people of North Carolina, he doesn't have to follow the law. And while we're speaking about grand juries, check out what happened to Rick Perry down in Texas. He tried to uphold the law, and a freaking DA got a grand jury indictment against him. Check this out.
Texas Governor Rick Perry is fighting back and making no apologies this morning after Friday's grand jury indictment against him. Jan Crawford is in Washington as well, where everyone is wondering what this new legal battle means for 2016. Jan, good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Jeff. This is a political mess that is about the size of Texas, and it all started when a powerful Democratic district attorney in Austin was charged with drunk driving more than a year ago, and her behavior was caught on camera. The video is embarrassing and criminal. It shows the most powerful district attorney in Texas, Rosemary Lemberg, drunk and abusive as she's booked for drunk driving.
Do you know what you're doing? Yes, ma'am. We've asked you plenty of times to stop kicking the door, and you didn't stop kicking the door.
Governor Rick Perry called on Lemberg to resign and warned he would cut state funding for her office if she refused. Lemberg stayed, and Perry followed through on his threat, striking more than $7 million from her budget. That move is why Perry now is facing 2 felony charges. A prosecutor and now grand jury say he illegally tried to coerce Lemberg, a Democrat, to quit.
I exercise this authority to veto funding for an office whose leadership had lost the public's confidence by acting inappropriately and unethically.
And he went on the offensive during a Sunday talk show.
And I stood up for the rule of law in the state of Texas,
And if I had to do it again, I would make exactly the same decision.
This is how stupid our system has become. It's retarded. We literally call good evil and evil good. And it's going to get really violent unless we do something about it. Been the whole message all along. And here's some problems, is that the news has reported Mark Martin, this was 3 years ago, spent $17,000 a month. A month. And what did that money buy him? Media relations from a PR campaign. They worked on press releases, pitching stories to the media, and hiring photographers for press events. What do you think just happened with that bar association and WLOS? How much do you think they paid for that one? Because this is how the real world works, in case you didn't know. $10,000 a month to monitor Twitter and Facebook. $10,000 a month to monitor Facebook. Do you think that could have had anything to do with taking down my Facebook post? And why do it anyways? Except to rub in your face, the public's face, that they can just do whatever they want and there is no law. There is no law. So, I stayed up all night thinking about this conversation that I had with my buddy, and it led me to an idea, and that is $27,000. $27,000 is what North Carolina spends a month to give you media relations, to give you stories that paint the court in a positive light, to control what's being spread on Facebook and Twitter and what people are talking about. And they have the financing to do that. Me, personally, I don't. But I thought about it, and one of the solutions could be if we got an actual movement moving well enough, got enough public support and financing, I would be willing to go to the Henderson County Courthouse, look through all the public records. Because if you look on Josh Stein's website, it says that we have the right to do that as the public. And I bet that if I spent a month up there going through the records, and of course I'd have to feel safe, I'd wish for the entire public to be watching it, and somebody would have to finance it. I couldn't do it for free. I don't have money because, well, I spend every ounce of energy I have trying to get the courts to do the right thing. And by the time people find me, they've already burnt through attorneys, burnt through court costs, lost everything, don't know how it happened. They don't have anything to pay me. So if the public could finance me going up there, I'd drive up there every day. And of course, I need help from somebody like Sean Mann and maybe one other individual to go through the documents and make it easier for me to find exactly what I'd be looking for. But I'm pretty sure I could put together a grand jury presentment to present to a grand jury. And if we had a cooperative member of the grand jury, we could even investigate and subpoena people, but a member of the grand jury would have to be cooperating for that to happen. The grand jury members are members of the public. I'm sure they're just as concerned as anyone else about if their child got raped and how that could be handled. What we really got to have is public opinion and public support. It's just an idea, but if I couldn't move before the grand jury to make a presentment for a RICO case after finding a really corrupt courthouse and having a whole lot of evidence to show that this should be investigated, then no prosecutor for the state has any business moving before a grand jury for a presentment on us, on me and you, for crimes like drugs. Somebody can get life for 2 ounces of cocaine, but rapists don't even get locked up, don't even get a day in prison, don't even get a day in court. That's messed up. That's messed up. Anyways, that's probably one of the only non-violent ways I see this actually turning around. But like I said, if we don't start working on turning this around in a non-violent way, pretty soon, there's going to be enough people out there getting fed up. Violence will come. History will repeat itself. There's no doubt about that. And for everybody else, I'm not a violent man. I'm not. Not my character. I'm only violent when I have to be. Otherwise, I like the whole paper, pen, and ink method. You see, Jonathan Cross, you see where it came from? From Josh Stein's office. Some of us have been writing letters because we don't believe in violence. Paper, pen, and ink it up, baby. You know, whenever I go into a courthouse, they'd always search me for weapons, pat me down. After I got through security, I'd be like, what are you worried about? I got the 2 most dangerous weapons in this building. A shield and a sword. That's the way I think. And if we can't get people to think like that, it's going to get violent for sure. Anyways, next video, Josh Stein's letters. I am just conspiracy, and I just wish to conspire with other good people of this planet to leave a better world for the next generation than the world we all grew up in. Hopefully, non-violently. Peace.
Obviously, a number of misstatements in the first letter that he wrote back, and there were misstatements in the second letter as well after Ms. Winstead had asked for more information. And we just felt that, we couldn't give a lawyer practicing in North Carolina a pass. We do find then, by clear, cogent, convincing evidence, that the violations set out, or if you would, the issues outlined 1 through 9 have been proven. We are staying the suspension for the entire time. Modification to find a failure to rectify consequences of misconduct. We found subsection P, but would characterize that as an absence of remorse. Under the standard conditions, we typically add in that, of course, the defendant is not to violate any laws of the state of North Carolina. And we would like to modify, if we can, to say including but not limited to the Victims' Rights Act, GS 15A-832, just as an acknowledgement that that's something that we want to make sure that going forward, Mr. Newman is very cognizant of. We would also order that the costs of this action be taxed to the defendant, including the deposition costs associated with the case.
You know what I think is the most disgusting part of this whole thing? Is how cheaply they sell the public out for. $27,000 a month. That's about $325,000 a year. To convince you that the court system actually works. $325,000 a year they sell out all of the people in the state of North Carolina. That's what I think is the most disgusting part. Anyways, happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and I hope that y'all join us on the next show. Bye-bye.